as you get more creative.
I think, yeah, I think did we not go live? I think we're going live. Yeah,
Is
we're live. Look at that. Boom.
live. My goodness. Oh, wow. That is great. It's great to be alive. It could be
Are you
dead.
live?
Well, we're lively,
Livelier.
livelier. We're we're trying to we're working on misconceptions, right? About hypnosis.
Hypnosis
Yeah.
misconceptions. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people really think a hypnotist is, they usually think of a stage hypnotist on the stage, and a lot of people go, "Oh, he made him quack like a duck, or look silly, or stupid, or whatever," and but that's a stage hypnotist who that's what their job is, to entertain people. And the people who actually get up on stage usually have an excuse to be stupid now. They can blame it on the hypnosis. Um, what we say really in hypnosis is you wouldn't do anything uh, what you wouldn't do in your real life. If you really want to act stupid, that gives you a free range to act stupid. If you didn't want to get up on stage, you wouldn't if you didn't want to.
Well,
Go ahead.
basically that goes with the first safety practice, right? It's called consent is key. Always make sure the person understands what hypnosis is and gives informed consent before beginning. So that basically just works in your advantage, where if you ask somebody to go up on stage and then they go up on stage, well, that's consent, right? And then, of course, the stage hypnotist is going to run through a couple different series of tasks just to see if you're able to go to the next stage. Like, how susceptible are you to hypnosis? And are you going to not go against, the commands, or, play along, we'll say. And then if you don't play along, then that's how you get executed from being up on stage. So is the hypnotist really controlling the person, or is the person controlling on their own free will with suggestions? So we remember consent is key.
Right. And the hypnotist is usually, leading. And then
Yeah,
the
there's a plan already in play. Like, I went and studied with somebody for a week, and the whole system, or everything that was about to go down, was already pre-scripted. It was just finding the right people to fill the script.
right.
So yeah, consent is
So
key. Yep.
so
Go
one misconception again is that when you go to a hypnotist for a concern of yours, like sleeping or smoking or any of those things, um, it's not the same as going to a stage hypnotist. Stage hypnotists, their purpose is to put on a show, entertain people, and a hypnotist you come for your problems is somebody who's going to help you work out the issues, whatever they are, and they're not going to make you actually make you do anything, but make you look funny or silly or stupid. And a lot of people think when you go to a hypnotist, they're going to take control of your life. And that, the other day I was listening to another hypnotist talking about, you know, that, oh, they're going to take over your brain and you won't be able to, if you ask them a question, they have to tell the truth. If you're a liar and that's what you do, you're going to be able to lie in hypnosis. Uh, and if you wouldn't tell a secret to somebody, you're not going to tell the hypnotist a secret. You're pretty much a lot of misconceptions is it's mind control, but hypnosis is more like a suggestion. You come in and you actually tell the magician, I mean, the magician, there we go. There was a slip, wasn't it? The hypnotist, what we're going to be working on, and they help you figure out your brain and your unconscious to solve those issues you're coming in for.
All right. So also, some definitely some safety practices, especially, I guess we're talking more like stage hypnotists that have to be worried more about, safety, right? So only practice hypnosis in safe, quiet environments. So that's something that Chat GPT's spit out. And I know I can tell you right now that somebody needs to update Chat GPT, because one of the people that I actually studied with said it doesn't need to be quiet. You could be in a bustling bar, and then yes, he said he could do it within minutes to get somebody into hypnosis. Yet at the same time, let's just talk about safety. Is it, if you're in a chair, then you fall high from the ground, are you going to get hurt? Or there's another thing too. When I studied with this other hypnotist that does stage hypnosis, he would make sure that all the chairs were stable, because people would have to come up, sit on the chairs, and then he would, tell them to do funny things, and then they would actually do them. And then on top of that, if they get hurt listening to you, then whose fault is it? So you want to make sure you keep the safety of whoever you're working with as a number one priority, because if somebody gets hurt or something like that, then that's only going to hurt your reputation. And basically, at the end, it's just people playing along with each other and having some fun, being in an altered state of hypnosis. So once again, safety, very important.
Yeah, same way with if you were doing a Zoom call with a with hypnosis with another person, you would want them in a good chair where it's stable, and it would be better for hypnosis uh, to be in a more quiet area and a focus on what you want and what you're doing, and then you would less distractions for a session with a person for helping instead of a stage where you're trying to do, entertainment for the crowd, because it's a totally opposite kind of thing. You're coming in to a hypnotist to work with to solve different issues in your life and get them better. And stage is more, again, entertainment.
Yeah. Another thing to think about, when people are doing hypnosis, they don't have to be doctors. It's a non-regulated, industry. So if somebody has mental issues, I mean, that's something you probably want to avoid. But basically, hypnosis is for somebody who might be having like a mental block, right? Like, oh, I can't figure out how to write this paper, or I don't know how to lose this weight, or I don't know how to build my business. Using hypnosis is a way to find more resources that could be inside of your subconscious mind, and bringing those forward, and not just, it doesn't help with somebody who has that needs clinical help, right? Like just keep that in mind. That's another thing too. It's not like not like hypnosis call people patients, right? They just call them clients.
Right. They're not a patient. And also, we're not working on uh, anything like you just said, bipolar. We're not working on bipolar or schizophrenia or anything like that. We're pretty much, you're coming in and we're opening up new suggestions for you to have a better life. Keeping actually opening up your own suggestions, because most everyone has their own answers inside of them. So we're just hoping we unblock their way of thinking with the direct suggestion, and also finding their own way in their own path, because we don't have the exact answer for everyone. They have to come up with themselves. So what happens sometimes is people come in thinking that we have a magic wand and they don't have to do anything. So another misconception are they at threshold. So when somebody comes in and they're not at threshold, which threshold is something has to change, it has to be you and it has to be now. If they're not at that, that's even with stop smoking or losing weight or whatever they're working on, if they're not willing to do the work, uh, it's not just that you go into a hypnotist and they just solve every problem in your life. It's not that way. They help you find the answers to what you need to do for the next step. What do you think on that?
Yeah, again, when it comes to hypnosis, there's people out there that are probably cynical of it, people out there that are interested in it, don't know what it is. But basically, um, the way I like to explain it is that everybody's stuck in their own loop, right? So and then when you go to somebody who, either an NLP practitioner or a hypnotist, they're trained to make you ask different questions. It's kind of like if you're doing the same thing again and again and again and getting the same results, then probably speaking to somebody who can pick up on things that you probably had your whole life, right? Like you probably had this one belief that You won't be able to do your homework ever or something like that, but you just never knew that you could talk to somebody else. Well, what if you, left early to take make more time to do this? And again, there's impossible amount of answers or different equations to come up with different types of result. And the thing is, if you're doing the same thing all the time and getting the same result and then knowing how to get to the next spot, either a hypnotist or NLP practitioner is just trained to make you look at different ways because you could be stuck in one way and not even know you're in there. And that's the whole point of, knowing the meta model and all these different things that NLP and hypnosis people uh, understand. And I also find in my own circle, in my own groups, like I will ask questions and everybody a lot of people in my circle think that I'm getting to a certain end with my questions. I'm definitely not getting to a certain end. I won't even know what that certain end until I get the answers at the ground level, and then I can just start moving towards different layers of the cake, right? But even with my friends, and then explaining to them that there's no way to come up with an answer unless you have all the information, because they've already assumed it's one way, and I walk into a situation assuming it could be thousands of different ways, and then how do we find out what the right way is? And I just don't like walking into something and assuming, and that's something a lot of people who could be stuck in a loop are already assuming an end that's not there. And if you have an assumption, then you've already capped up what your capabilities are. So that's what you go and see an NLP or a hypnotist for.
And one thing you can do just to even figure out if you have an issue that could be worked on is one thing you can just do is say to yourself, is there anything in your life you say, oh no, not again? That's we're calling a loop right there. It happens over and over. And Scott was explaining if you do the same thing over and over again, you get the same result and you expect a different result. That's called insanity. So a lot of times we're not a lot of people are stuck in a loop pattern and they don't know how to get out. That's one thing you can come for a hypnotist. Here's some misconceptions that people think. Uh, they think you're going to get stuck in hypnosis. No one's ever been stuck in hypnosis. Even probably the worst case scenario, they've been, they didn't want to come out of hypnosis. And this happened very, very, I mean, I've only heard of a few cases where they stayed in there for about 30 minutes because they were so relaxed and so you're not ever going to get, no one has ever been stuck in hypnosis. So that's a misconception. The other thing is mind control. Again, what we were talking about before is if you're not go if you wouldn't lie, you're not going to lie. If you would lie, you can lie. If you wouldn't tell your secret to somebody else, you're going to keep your secret, whatever that is. Then another misconception, they think I can't be hypnotized, but it's not true. If you ever drove your car and came home one night and you didn't remember how you got there, but you got there, uh you were in highway hypnosis. So basically you kind of daydream sometimes when you're driving because your unconscious is driving that car right now. After you learn, it goes into the unconscious, so you don't have to think about pushing the gas or the brake or how to steer anymore. You did at first until you learned it. And that's the learning process we've gone over several times. You don't know what you don't know till you know you don't know. And then you learn it. And then it goes into your conscious and then awareness. And then after a certain amount of time, it's unconscious competence, basically how you drive. So you go there. The other one that's called highway hypnosis. When you go, uh, if you've ever come and you saw a big bruise on your body and you don't remember how it got there, that's anesthesia. Basically, you were so focused on what you were doing, you didn't feel it. So this hypnosis would help when anesthesia is kind of like we would do for if you were going to a dentist to numb your mouth, and they wouldn't have to give you the shots because focus attention and then using hypnosis. That's called anesthesia. And then there's uh, amnesia. Basically, you don't remember. Well, because a lot of times you say I can't. If you ever use that word I can't, your unconscious shuts off the things to make where you can. So we want also in hypnosis, we want everyone to start understanding what they're saying to themselves. Because your unconscious mind wants you wants to keep you alive. Okay. It doesn't care about your happiness so much, but it wants to keep you safe because that's its main thing. So boy, I got I'm going on it. Okay, I'm gonna let you take over,
I'm
Scott.
like, yeah, man, what's going on? Oh no, I have a few different ones just to keep in mind. You could go off any of these, but once again, it says, don't lose control. Misunderstandings about hypnosis. Will you lose control? Basically, it's just a hypersensitive awareness, and then you won't probably do anything that you wouldn't do normally, right? And then you're unconscious. No, most people are aware of what's happening during hypnosis, right? It's just right, what under a veil of doing something else, right? And then you won't get stuck in trance, which I think, Jeff was just talking about. Only weak-minded people can be hypnotized. Well, that's not true. Basically, anybody that wants to be or is susceptible, that word. Anyway, somebody who is agreeable, somebody that wants to be hypnotized can be hypnotized. Weak-minded. I mean, and then again, what is weak? Like uh, that's some weird words that
Well,
ChatGPT decided to
what,
use. Oh, and
what
then
we do say as a hypnotist at one point, if there's a thing called a derelict, and I'm not throwing these words out, just or retarded. Sometimes that's a lower, and it's sometimes a little bit more difficult if you're not at a certain a stage where you can understand stuff. So a lot of times a hypnotist will give you direct suggestion or something to do. And if you can't understand that, so it's a little bit harder. Or if you don't want to be in hypnosis, you don't listen to the you don't have to go into hypnosis. And many people think, oh, well, they're just going to take over. If you don't want to be in hypnosis, you don't have to be. I mean, so, and the other, uh, again, what
I don't know. There's
you
another thing
have
here
you
that
ever
says
when you
some,
give your go ahead. Sorry.
some people think it's just sleep.
Well, that's because they say sleep. It's not that they go to sleep. They're okay. So a lot of times when I had hypnotized people, they even snore. But then you can ask them when you're in when they're snoring. You say, "Are you asleep?" And and you can say, "Raise your right index finger if you're asleep, if you're not asleep," and they'll raise it. So they're in a relaxed state. A lot of hypnotists will do relaxation, and that takes a lot longer than some, a different types of
Yeah,
induction.
it's not like the gorilla
What's that?
gorilla hypnosis, what Guzzy calls it.
Oh,
I can do it anywhere in less
right.
than a minute.
Okay.
Less than a minute.
There's shock inductions. There's all kinds of inductions. What we're not again, what we're talking about today is the misconception that it's going to harm you. Uh,
Oh, well,
it,
basically any misconception. So
right.
basically, if you see a street hypnotist and they go up to somebody, they shake them on the hand, they say go to sleep. Let's just say that person's been profiled before that happens.
Yeah. So suggestibility. And usually, again, uh, what Scott said at the beginning is get consent. So if they're coming to someone, well, a lot of times a hypnotist will say, do you want to be hypnotized? Uh,
Yeah.
and would it, would you like to be hypnotized by me today? And
That's
if they say yes, that's a verbal contract between the hypnotist and the person saying yes. And
tacit agreement.
yeah, yeah,
Tacit agreement, which is I find mind-blowing that explaining that to people like in sales, right? Like you would say, are you in need of X, Y, and Z, right? Or would you like to be hypnotized? These are both need to be yes questions. And they sound simple, but it's the psychology of what goes in behind that. Because if they would say no, then you just go find somebody else who is agreeable and it'll be a less rocky path. And I think people overstep this more than anything. Like just don't think it's important and skip this whole part. This is the most important part is getting a yes.
Right. Well, it's also consent. You're consenting
Yeah.
to this. And more than likely, I would say more than likely, if you're going to a hypnotist for help, you're going to be more
Oh, if
accepting.
you're, yeah, exactly. If you're looking for that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you're already in agreement, you're coming for a certain whatever reason. There's so many things hypnosis can do for you. And again, it's really what I is focus attention at the very simplest term I say for hypnosis is basically you're honing in and then getting where you're saying to yourself, basically, this is what you want, right? And then we can do
Focus
tag,
attention.
we can use different methods to help you get where to the next step you want to go. We can't we can't make you go into hypnosis. A lot of people say that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. Basically, you're going to agree to go into a little bit altered state where you're more suggestible and you're focused on what you're wanting to get done.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
So,
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. So again, yeah, hypnosis is not voodoo. Hypnosis is you wanting to make a change and then seeking somebody else who wants to help you make a change, and then having that journey and then figuring out what you're doing, well, or what, not what you're doing wrong, what you could be doing better.
in one of I was explaining earlier, and I don't think I did it very well, is
Oh,
uh, amnesia. Okay, when you go to the refrigerator and you say, "I'm looking for mustard." Okay, you're going in there, you're looking for mustard, but you can't see it because you just said, "I can't find the mustard." It's like, and you go to your wife and you go, "Hey, I can't find the mustard. I thought we just bought mustard." She says, it's in the fridge." And I said, "I looked all over the fridge. There's no way it's in the fridge." And she comes and she just points it out and she said, "Oh, because it's out of your awareness because you told yourself you can't find it, so you couldn't find it." And then that's again the example of when you say you can't do something, then more than likely can't do it because you've given your suggestion that you can't do it. So what we say is take that can't out and change that word to working on, working on this instead of saying can't, because uh, what self-talk really does matter. Because your unconscious hears everything, sees everything. Actually, there's another thing that we get a certain amount of bits of information every second. Some say plus or minus 7 to 9 to 5. Either way, in that. And the unconscious is unlimited. All this information. So it's taking all this information around you. Now, because we sort by what we believe is important, because the unconscious is working on all our life is what we did. So it's got all that information in there. It's going to sort by the information when you come into a room by what's important to you. Like if it was a police officer come in the room, he might look at the exits where somebody could get in, what can't, or a fireman, they might say, "Where's the fire?" All the smoke detectors. And it might be a chef, they might want to walk right straight to your kitchen and start looking at what you got in there, because we sort by what we like and also by what will keep us alive. So we're sorting by both of those at all times. And so even with a lot of people, they'll get this, I call it a spidey sense, something's not right here. And usually that's because your unconscious has picked up on it before. We got the amygdala coming in on this now. You go to the stove when you're first learning and you touch the stove and it's hot. Your amygdala takes a snapshot of that. And so if you ever go to the stove and you're about to put your hand on it, your unconscious takes over and it just comes right off before you touch it most of the time. Now you could still burn yourself, but usually because it shoots out that awareness. That's that same thing as the spidey sense. Something's not right here. Have you ever felt that where you go into a room and you
Yeah,
just
I mean, if your
wow. So
intuition's telling you something.
so 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 our unconscious is always working for us. The misconceptions are, that we totally have all control on our conscious mind, which is usually only about 10% or less uh, of what we how we react is what we've learned in the past. So we're going by our model of the world when we walk into the room.
And just remember, stage hypnotists get you to do stuff, and they may have a few tricks, right? So I know one way to, take your language and get more people to participate in whatever you're doing. So if you're on stage and you say something like, well, I want you guys to be careful when you guys come up here because I only have 10 chairs up here, right? And what I've found, because I've been doing this show, I don't know, 20 years or so, is that the people that are the fastest to this chair have reported back to me after being on this show, telling me how much success they've had after leaving this show because they were able to do such an amazing job. And because they were great at hypnosis, they were able to go and, transfer it out to anything they put their mind to. So, with that in mind, please come up to the stage in an orderly fashion to the first 10 people that can fill these chairs. So it's all pre-framed. Whoa, why would anybody go up there? Well, if you want to be successful in life, you better be the first person up here. And these language patterns. And then again, that was something I think Jeff was explaining to me a couple weeks ago, is that when you do things, you want to make sure to hit all of the senses. So when you're talking, it's your auditory, and then you can use feelings, to get the kinesthetic people. But you would talk like in a tone like, "Hey guys, I know you're gonna feel real comfortable up here today, right?" You just use the word feel. So, oh yeah, that feels great. And then you would be like, "Wow, once you're up here, you'll be able to see all the success you'll be able to have by going through a few of these routines or whatever you want to call them, right? A few of these acts, right?
That sound good to you?
Does that sound good to you? And then I'm sure you'll feel great. You'll be able to see what's going on, and then now you've hit pretty much all of them.
Well, we got smell and taste, but we're not usually going to use
We
those.
just stick to the top three, yeah. Visual, kinesthetic, auditory.
But
But
just to go in that for just a second, like Gusto, basically when you go in and you may have had your grandma cook you cookies or some kind of meal during Thanksgiving or something, and it brings back memories. It's the same like you're driving in a car, you hear this certain song, and it goes back to the time you go to because that's an anchor. We're calling that an anchor. We don't need to go into the whole. I'm sorry.
well,
I can
basically, with the
bring this
words that you
out.
use, you can start to subconsciously trigger people's feelings and memories, and just by using certain words, right? If- And you can keep it open-ended too. Think about a time when you were at your happiest. What did it feel like? What were you listening to? What was going on that was so great that it made you the happiest point in life? Well, I bet we could reduplicate that right here on stage right now. All you had to do was think about it, and if you snapped your fingers, then you'll be able to double the sensation. And if I snap my fingers one more time, you'll be able to double it again. And just think about all the different things you'll be able to accomplish feeling that great, but now triple what you were feeling before. You see, when you snap the fingers, it's an auditory, but you've already gave a command with it. And then if you do it three times, right, that you've said it. Now, how deep it acts on the person is depending on how, susceptible they are to sound, right? Or how, quickly you were able to talk to get them into that state. Or if they were kinesthetic, you'd have to slow it down and talk slower to get into that state. And it's all just a give and take depending on how well you're able to read the person in front of you by
So
asking them questions.
yeah, I would go back and let's sum up this a little bit. Is that if you go to a hypnotist,
Yeah,
basic.
we'll do closing remarks. I mean,
The thing is, you want to know that they're a professional, they've been doing it a long time, or get a referral or something to understand. And when you feel comfortable with them, and a lot of times they'll have a website. If they don't have a website, maybe not go to somebody like that. But if they have a good website and or referral from another person, You can look at their credentials and then, feel comfortable. And if you don't feel
I don't
comfortable
know.
with the
If
person,
it
you're
feels
not
like
going to,
someone's hiding information from you, just walk away.
yeah. So,
You're not going to change it.
yeah. Oh, and also there's TV hypnosis. Basically, okay, so you're watching a TV. If you ever cried, ever laughed, or anything at the TV, and uh, they're all actors. Nobody got shot, and well, sometimes they do, but
I mean,
they're not
depends what
going.
movie you're talking
Yeah,
about.
but 99% of the time, they're just actors acting out a part. But you get so caught up in, so it's like storytelling. And one of the quickest ways to do get somebody in hypnosis in stories is just say, "Once upon a time."
Yeah. So
So
on that note, I watch WWE documentaries on Netflix, right? And I can't tell when these wrestlers are talking about wrestling life, which is like another reality, or like the real reality. Like I can't tell when they're in or out of show. I think they're just always in show. I
yeah, I've
can't
seen it
tell.
where, you know, what do you believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you believe that's the reality, then we might as well just stick with it if it's working for.
So again, hypnosis is a natural state of being that we're in and out all day. Um, if you ever daydreamed, or if you ever sort of zoned out, like in the car, or if you ever found a bruise on your body that you didn't know how it got there, you were so focused on something else. And when you tell yourself, like, and a when you tell yourself you can't find it, and you can't find it until somebody points it out, and it's always been there. And I've done that several times with my keys. I Because I say I can't find my keys, and I can't find my keys, and they're on the table right in front of me. I've hypnotized somebody to
Yeah,
say,
I've seen your place. I mean, I'm not surprised. Couldn't
well,
find anything on that table sitting in front of you.
I've done it where in hypnosis where I told somebody I wouldn't be there, and I disappeared and they couldn't see me. And this is way, way years and years and years ago. And I picked up my coffee cup, and the client rammed into the back of the wall, and started yelling my name, saying, "Where are you? This cup is floating." So it can happen. And same way is where there's all kinds of fun stuff you can do with hypnosis, but also uh, I think the misconception still is what we want to bring is it's safe if you're going to a good hypnotist. Either way, even on stage, a good stage hypnotist will look after the welfare of the people who come up on stage, and they will work on not doing any harm at all to anyone. They're there for entertainment. And when you come to a hypnotist for help, they're there for you to help you understand what you can do next to get to wherever you're wanting to go with whatever concerns you have. And a lot of times when people come into a hypnotist, they're basically coming in with something. It's not the
Probably something they want to talk about and let go anyway, right? Like, oh, one more thing with hypnosis. Like, so I don't think enough people understand this either. Like, the hypnotist doesn't need to know the exact material of what's bothering you. Like, you don't have to disclose anything. That's the coolest
because
thing.
they're going to help you. And one way to put it, I think Mike Mendel basically, we can shine a light out of the tunnel, but we can't pull you out. You have to pull yourself out. Basically, you're going to have to do the work or whatever it is. And again, we can go in with no information on what's really going on, and we can have you work out what issues, because you're unconscious. That's what we're working on, is your unconscious to open up, to suggest the suggestions we're giving, to unleash the power inside, basically any blocks.
Release the Kraken.
Right. Well, remember what I first said was, I said, if you go to yourself Anybody can do that right now and ask, is there anywhere in your life when you go, oh no, not again? Now, if you have that, then that's where the blocks are. And then what we want to do is work through that. Oh, no, not again. Take the sting out of it and let it be just information. So a lot of times when you go, oh, no, not again, you've got that, there's a pressure behind it. Basically, it's heightened. It's heightened, not heightened awareness, but heightened, you're angry. Let's just say you're angry about something, but would want to take the anger away and give it just information. Because if you come from anger and you're talking to somebody already, if you go there, then you're going to insanity where nothing can be done. So if you ever want to uh, communicate a little bit better, if somebody's yelling, tone yourself down and keep toning yourself down and come to the level where you can talk. Now, that's what anyway, but the
Yeah.
loop is basically saying to yourself, you know, is there something blocking me? What's blocking you from what you want? And that's a lot of times why you're coming to a hypnotist anyway.
Well, there you have it. I think that's about it for today.
All right.
Well, yeah, guys, make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. And I don't know, I probably have like 30,000 emails to answer right now. I'll catch you on
That's
the
a
next one.
lot.
It's a lot, yeah. Maybe exaggerating a little bit.